Good evening and welcome to Politically Incorrect for the 22nd of February, 2024. We're going to hang in there for one moment. I got to put out a note here. And thank you, Marilyn. Sorry for the unusual start. We had a technical issue. So let me just get in here and get everybody back on the horn. Hang in while we get some folks up here. Sorry again for the interruption. We're running a little bit over if we can get this thing going. Apparently Podbean had a fit of some sort, and let me just get my other folks online here. Let's be a minute. And boom. I'm glad you all came back, and I'm going to send out a couple notations here to folks that won't have access, won't know where we're at. Try to bring everybody back on board here. Just be another minute. Thank you for your patience. And almost there. Okay. There's Joanne. Can you hear me? Hi, Joanne. Hi, Eric. I think I'm back online here. You know what? I think we're back online. We got audio, folks. Excellent. All right. Oh my goodness. What an ordeal. I don't know. There's some networking issues. If it goes silent again, let me know. I'm watching the meter here. Gotta love technology. All right. This is Politically Incorrect for 22nd of February, 2024, as I've mentioned. And tonight we have a topic of, is there no common sense? Brought to you by EternalAffairsMedia.com, also known as EA Truth Media. And your host tonight is myself, Andrew Shecktor, author of Darkwater, Game Over, and two-time delegate for Donald Trump, the Republican National Convention. If you feel led to plant a financial seed in our media ministry, please visit donate.eamedia.online or premium.eamedia.online. And of course, until November of 2024, you can get a discount using a discount code of Trump 2024 for one free month of premium on premium.eamedia.online. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we've got our donors, one-time donors, Lisa and Sherry, Truth Premium subscribers of David, Bruce, Gary, and Jeff, and patrons Dan and Chaplain Jim. Okay, so we had a little bit to go over. I was hoping to have a very exciting common sense has fallen by the wayside. There's a lot of things happening right now, and one of them I think might have been maybe the part of the problem with the podcast tonight. I think there's some crazy stuff going on with the internet and with all my papers are gone now. I'm glad the audio didn't come through the last time. I was just trying to fix that thing. Boy, I'll tell you, I had to delete that one. There's a lot of words on there that Jesus wouldn't have liked. So I don't know what happened. I've got some weird issues with this PC though. I've got an audio issue where sometimes you have to reset everything and then the audio vanishes. Hopefully it won't affect us again. We're going to run a little bit late to cover that. If you guys can hang in there, if it's okay with you guys. So a lot of things prompted this topic tonight. And the big one, of course, was the deal of the courts that ruled. And here's a little AP article here that if I can read it. The Alabama Supreme Court ruled that frozen embryos can be considered children under state law. Critics say the ruling could have sweeping implications for fertility treatments. The decision was issued in a pair of wrongful death cases brought by three couples who had frozen embryos destroyed in an accident. Now, one of the things that now all you folks out there who've been on the podcast before know my personal opinions, and I have two opinions. One of them, my personal opinion, is that life begins at conception, and no embryo and no creation of God's that was that where two loving individuals have made an embryo that should be considered life. Now that's my personal opinion, and I'm sticking to it. But I also believe that government doesn't have a right to intervene in issues of morality, which they're now getting more and more involved in, which is just terrible. Especially the federal government has no regulation. I mean, I understand with this Roe v. Wade and all that why they did that, but I don't. It's a double-edged sword. It really is, folks. As good Christians, you want to bring back, you want to maintain, God's word and in the Bible and everything. But we're not all Christians. There is the other side, the ones that were thrown out of Eden. There are people that don't believe in that, and those people are also, citizens of the United States of America. But you have to draw the line somewhere, folks. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, though, because you got you got this big thing with Roe v. Wade, and they're trying to stop all abortions, and the far right conservatives trying to kill off all abortions, and say this against God's will, or God and government don't really go together well. But when you think about it, what happens is they have these great opportunities. I want you to think hard about this. I've been listening to both the mainstream and the non-mainstream media. I've been listening to the social media. Nobody's even talked about it. You've got this ruling right now, and they've not even talked about taking this ruling to the Supreme Court, by the way. So embryos are children. Now, isn't this the same debate that abortion, for abortion? And you don't see the conservatives, you don't see the Christian leaders taking up the cause right now. Why is that? I mean, here's the sensibility. Number one, why would you rule that embryos are children? That's number one, right? So number two is, if that ruling is there, why is it not being appealed to the Supreme Court? Why is it not being appealed? It makes no sense to me at all. And then thirdly, why have Republicans and conservatives not jumped on board and said, okay, there's not going to be any abortions because it's illegal, because embryos are children? Is not a fetus, is not the egg and sperm that have met in a woman's body, is that not an embryo? Does any of this make any sense? This is where brought this up. So, these conservatives and these super Christians that are out there saying you must all believe in Jesus, you must believe in the Bible. Even the Jews, Jews going to believe in Jesus? Give me a break. There's other people in this world besides Christians. Now, I'm not saying that I don't. That's not what I believe. I believe that the embryo is a child. I believe that when you put a sperm and an egg together, that's a person that should be either that should not be killed in any manner. That's my personal belief. But I don't expect everybody else to believe that. And it's not my duty to uphold God's word. It's not our duty to uphold God's word. It's our duty to try and educate people on these things. But it makes no sense that if they're going to say embryos are children, and they're not going to debate that in the Supreme Court, then is not a fetus in a woman's body an embryo? Is that not the same thing? How can you rule on one thing, and how come nobody's talking about it? I'm not saying one way or the other. I mean, everybody knows how I believe, but I'm just saying that how can you say this and then not, and then why are the women not all up, or the women's groups not all up and saying, oh no, you can't say that, take it to the Supreme Court? I don't understand it. Does anybody have a clue? It's kind of like Nikki Haley. And Nikki Haley is running for, I don't know why the hell she's even running. Anybody have a clue why Nikki Haley is still running? I mean, she lost to none of the above in one state. She lost in her own state, and she keeps running. I think she's hoping, that one makes more sense. I mean, you have to look at common sense. She knows she has no chance unless Donald Trump is put in jail. Now, I can't see Donald Trump being put in jail, at least not before the elections. But it makes no sense to keep pushing. And like my wife said, it was kind of interesting. She said, Nikki Haley wonders why she's losing. But the only thing that I've ever heard come out of her mouth on the campaign trail is Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, Donald Trump's bad. I hate Donald Trump. Has anyone heard anything about what Nikki Haley stands for? Has she come up and spoken on what she stands for? And she wonders why she's losing. Nobody knows who she is. And boy, I don't like her attitude to begin with. That's beside the point. But the fact is, That makes no sense. Why is she not out there promoting what she believes in as opposed to that Donald Trump is bad? And you're not going to win saying Donald Trump is bad. You've lost, as soon as that comes out of your mouth, you lost 70 million people. Yeah, she should be promoting, she should not be talking about Donald Trump, and she should be promoting what she believes in, just stay on the trail. Yeah, no viable platform. It's alienating potential voters. That's exactly right. She's helping Trump more than hurting him. Eric's right. By the way, I got to thank you guys again for coming in and hanging on for this botched podcast. And sorry about whatever happened with Podbean, but a lot of crazy stuff going on here, folks. So then today, AT&T goes down. All AT&T now. I want you to now think of the logistics here. This is ABC News tonight. I know everybody says don't watch mainstream or listen to mainstream media, but you have to know the enemy. So they come on, they're like that AT&T went down, and what they said was that you should use the landlines. And I think the Texas government or somebody else, one of the other ones, had said that you should use your landlines because AT&T Mobile is down. Folks, how many people today have a landline? How many people have a landline telephone? Right? What a stupid thing to say. And this is why I like that. I'm glad I have a ham radio. Yeah, give up landlines. Now, I will say that I have you can technically call a landline a phone that's connected to your internet provider, because that's not going over the cellular. It's the cellular. And Marilyn says she has a landline. If you don't mind, in the comments, maybe you can post. Do you have a copper landline, or do you have one that's a fake landline with like a cable thing? That's what I have, because they don't use copper anymore. Copper is the only thing that survives anything. It would survive a Carrington event. For those who don't know Carrington, we almost had one today. Huge solar flare came out. This is my luck. I just bought a solar telescope to get these images of the sun and to see what's going on. And absolutely nothing happened until today. And there was a solar flare, huge solar flare, kind of headed towards us. We don't know what's going to happen with it yet. It's going to take a while to get to us. But the fact is that if you had a copper line, you might get shocked if you touched the phone, but it would still work. But it's going to knock everything else out. So why would you tell people use the landline? There's no landlines to use. This is what I'm talking about. This craziness. There's something in the air. There's definitely something. I don't know if it's the jabs or what it is. But yeah, fiber optic might actually work, but a lot of these other things won't work. The cable things won't work because they'll be knocked out by the flare. But to say that, and that how many people actually have it? The big percentage of people don't even have any kind of connections. And thank you, Marilyn, for getting back to me on that. So now they're saying, and then they say, first they said we don't know what caused it. And then they said, it was a software update. Folks, I've been in information technology and networking for 50 years. I can tell you right now for a fact it was not a software update that knocked that out. It was one of two things. And they're not going to tell you this. It's one of two things. Either it was an intentional malfeasance, or it was a test to see what they can shut down and what they can do to cripple us in the event of a. This is all building up to the elections. Think about it, folks. This is building up to Trump 2024. This is building up to the 2024 elections where they don't want Trump in. They don't want us talking to each other. It's an inside job. They're practicing because they want to shut us down. They want to stop our communications, just like they did on January the 6th. That was the big thing when they did that. They completely shut everything down. They took me offline on Facebook because I was promoting going down to DC, and they actually shut down. They put a 30-day block on me. I couldn't comment, post, or do anything on Facebook or Messenger or anything for 30 days, starting I think it was January the 1st. Think about that. They will do anything to shut us down. They will do anything to stop Donald Trump. And all of a sudden, AT&T goes down. Yeah, and just look at the states. Here's an interesting thing. If you look at the states that went down, and then think about the states that were involved in with a Trump that they wanted to prevent that communication. They're the test states, the ones that were shut down, the ones that lost communications today. Something's just not right now. The whole world's gone to hell, folks. You know, they talk about. I've said this before, but because it's a topic of the day, I have to mention. Yeah, Florida, exactly. One of them. Florida, Texas. Look at the states. But it's just so insane what's going on, and they're and it makes no sense because they'll say one thing, but it doesn't represent what's really going on. Like you know, I'm not even going to get into the Russians. The whole thing with the was involved and all that. I mean, there's some crazy stuff going on. And Joe Biden is crazy. He's going after the Russians. He called Putin a something son of a b. And my wife says, "Don't do that, Joe. Don't do that. We don't want Kamala Harris as president because they're going to come after him. I mean, you got to be stupid, you know." And then Russia says, "Oh, they want Joe Biden to win." Now, this is stupid too. Think about the logic behind this. We're going to go on this topic tonight. I'm going to say one thing at the end that's very important about Donald Trump that I think is pretty cool. So, you know. Putin says, "Oh, I want Joe Biden to win in 2024." Why does he want Joe Biden to win? I mean, that's insane. Because when Donald Trump was in, they got along. Him and Putin got along, and he would have hashed things out and worked things out with him. And Joe Biden calls him a son of a bee, and he wants him to win. I mean, think about the whole thing is crazy. And that was what brought this topic up tonight. Like it's just absolutely insane. It really is. I don't get it. I'm gonna take a breather for 30 seconds. I'm gonna get to the second piece of the show that I wanted to bring up, which is really cool, that I think is really very important. So in the meantime, we're gonna take a quick break here from our sponsor, and let's see. We're going to talk about food shortages. This is a great topic. I was going to do. I love Mike Lindell and My Pillow. Mike Lindell just had a negative thing with his he got $5 million deal that he's got to pay that again, and that was overturned. That really bothers you. But anyway, you can see with AT&T going down today, and who knows what else. That anything can happen when the crap hits the fan. There's going to be a domino effect, including food production. Farmers can't plant as much food. There's fertilizer shortages, forced regulation. It's going to cause food shortages. We're going to run short, just like we ran out of phone service today. So when farmers don't plant, months later we don't eat. So be sure you're prepared. Best way to prepare is to invest in a ready hour emergency kit from My Patriot Supply, one of our great sponsors. It's a perfect hedge against skyrocketing prices and shortages. You can save $50 in a 4-week supply from My Patriot Supply at prep.eamedia.online. to get your $50 savings on a 4-week supply. Again, that's prep.eamedia.online for My Patriot Supply. Please do support our great sponsors. And don't forget prep.my.eamedia.online. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to get off my high horse here for a minute. And this was the greatest. This is my last topic for the night. And I just read this, and this was from conservativebrief.com about Teamsters Union. Teamsters Union makes the largest donation to RNC in years. Everybody heard this? I don't know if you've heard this already. The influential Teamsters Union, and they're traditionally Democrat, has indicated that it could switch and endorse former President Donald Trump this election cycle. You heard that right, that the Teamsters Union is considering supporting Donald Trump for this election cycle. According to the Washington Post, which cited Federal Elections Commission's records, the union made a $45,000 donation to the Republican National Committee's convention fund in January, just days before Trump appeared at the union's headquarters. Trump had previously met in early January with Teamsters General President Sean M. O'Brien, the union posted on X, NBC News reported. The union supported Joe Biden in 2020 and has since not provided much in the way of funding to the Republican Party since it made a $15,000 donation to the RNC in 2004. So this is a huge leap, folks. This is a very important notice that came out. The union has yet to publicly endorse any presidential candidate for this cycle. The Washington Post added the gift to the RNC, which is facing fundraising woes, magnifies tensions for unions that have benefited from Biden policies, making it easier for workers to unionize and subsidizing projects to create union jobs, even as Trump remains popular among the rank and file union members, especially in battleground states such as Michigan and Pennsylvania. Following a meeting in late January, Trump told reporters that he had a good shot at receiving the union's endorsement. But Teamsters chief Sean O'Brien said during the same news conference that the Biden administration had been great for the unions, adding that the Teamsters still had more questions that need to be answered by both candidates. So the United Auto Workers Union, officially backed Biden as well, though as President Sean Fain all but admitted a great majority of UAW members will be voting for Trump on Election Day. I think that's pretty cool. But just to hear that there's even that discussion with the Teamsters Union like that, it's just unbelievable. It's absolutely fantastic news, folks. And I don't know if you saw Joe Biden today. He was speaking. What was he speaking about? He was talking about Russia, something about Russia, but he was stuttering and stumbling. He couldn't get a single word out. I mean, I don't understand how this guy can be president now, let alone run again for yet another 4-year term. So I think we got some really good times ahead. I think God is following our path and placing His great glory upon this nation to fix what's going on. Well, I really hope so, because it's an absolute disgrace. It's an embarrassment to be an American right now with Joe Biden in charge, and with stuttering, stammering Kamala Harris right on his heels. But I'll tell you, it's going to be very interesting. Well, I'm almost sorry I'm not going to be making the convention. I don't know if we mentioned it, but I didn't get enough support. You know, that's the other problem with this GOP, and that's a good final topic for this podcast. Is that, you know, we've seen in our county of Columbia County, Pennsylvania, we've seen that the GOP was taken down. There was a great group called We the People. Now there's another one, the Patriot Coalition or something, which they're a bunch of idiots. But We the People was a really powerful group. They fizzled out. But before they fizzled out, they went and they had huge numbers. We had thousands in a membership. And they came in and they literally ran for office. They ran for the GOP positions for the committees. And they took over our committee, literally. They took over the committees in a couple of other counties too, neighboring counties. And I thought, boy, this is really great, because they like Trump and they like, you know, they're sensible people, they're conservative. And here they completely botched it. They turned it around. They put their own cronies in. They screwed everything up. Everybody from the old regime left. On the other are some people that should have left that were just messing things up. But it's like, you know, the old frying pan to the fire thing. You go from the frying pan to the fire. This is pretty much what happened in Columbia County. I'm very close to just dropping out of politics entirely and dropping out of the Republican Party. It's just ridiculous. I'm still conservative, but nobody else seems to be. It's crazy. Why would you do that? Why would you go against your own beliefs and alienate all the people in the committee to, rather than try to unite them? There's something going on. There really is. I think there's something in the air, folks. It's just not cool. It really isn't. A lot of complacent people. There's a complacent people. I'm glad you mentioned that, Eric. Eric mentions a lot of complacent people in society, and I've seen that. I've seen people that have just given up on politics. They've given up on their community. People used to show up for things. You'd have a meeting. They had a big meeting about a solar power plant that was going to take up a farm, basically, and huge farmland. And was going to disrupt the view of the community. And they said, I think 8 people showed up. 8 people showed up to the meeting to stop it. We had a bridge. They were going to toll I-80. That was 2 years ago, I guess it was. They're going to toll I-80. which has never been told before, because they want to. And I, I don't have a problem fixing roads, folks. You're going to get charged either way. The bridges have to be fixed, the roads have to be fixed, but they were going to toll this little specific area of the road, 3 bridges, to the point where if I was still working, I'm working from home now. If I was still working, the I would have had to cross 3 bridges. And they said, oh, it's only in one direction they're going to charge for the toll. But I would have had to pay 3 tolls. It would have cost me $8 or $9 a day to go to work. Or I have to take the back roads in the middle of winter with the snow and the ice, and it would take 2 or 3 times as long, and be 10 times as dangerous. So I went to the meetings. I went to several meetings, and there were literally a handful of people there. And we're talking rural communities that are going to be taxed and tolled intentionally for these little areas. They think it's the truckers, because the truckers are doing a lot. They don't realize if they charge the truckers, the truckers are going to charge the companies, the trucking companies. The trucking companies are going to charge the people that are using them. It's ridiculous. It's insane, right? So I went to the last meeting, and I me and my big mouth, I went up and I made it on TV several times during this process, and we got it knocked down, but only because 2 or 3 people and one great local senator stood up for us, you know, and it's just not right that people don't show up to defend things that are bad that are happening. We're getting more and more rights taken away. We're getting charged more and taxed more. It's absolutely ridiculous. You can't afford to exist anymore. You can't afford to live anymore. It's just wrong what they're doing. And we're just going to see so many people suffering, and then they worry about, oh, the people in Gaza, and they're starving. Yeah, they are. It's bad. Let's worry about America first. That's why we need Donald Trump back in the White House. So we've pretty much covered the topic. Hey, again, I want to thank you folks so much, and everybody missed the beginning. It will be posted. We had a little bit of a glitch at the beginning. There were some issues with the networks. We got started. We have to do a restart, and everybody came back up. Folks, I am so pleased and so happy and so proud of you guys for coming back on the show. I'm really, really am absolutely thankful, and thank you, Marilyn. I'm just so thankful, because it's just a terrible thing when especially we're doing this 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks, and the the podcast doesn't start right. So thank you again so much for coming in and taking that effort to come back on the podcast. We're going to do this again in 2 weeks. This time, I'd made it a policy that before the podcast, I do a trial run every single time. I didn't have a chance to do that tonight. That an emergency came up, and that's the one night, of course, that the audio didn't work. But we made it. We've done it. We've completed the task, and we'll stand in there, and we'll keep this great nation running. Bring your friends. Anybody that missed the beginning will be posted on Podbean afterwards if you want to catch the beginning of the podcast. Thanks again, folks. We'll be doing this again in 2 weeks. Yep, God willing, being in here in 2 weeks. That's right. That language, God willing, God willing, and the creek don't rise, like they say. But it's by God's great grace that we had the podcast tonight, and it was successful. So, folks, and I see Miss Dixie came in late, but always welcome. And like I said, we will be. It was a good show tonight. I think the folks that made the show agree. It will be posted online within an hour. And folks, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks again for sticking with me tonight, and we made it happen. And we will see you in 2 weeks. And thanks again, Joanne. And you have a great evening. We'll see you in 2 weeks. God bless everyone. Good night, everyone. See you in 2 weeks.